Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 8245 Northeast Quatama Street here in Hillsboro. I can never figure out how to say that street name. No, I think I mispronounce it every time. Anyway, we're down here in the basement. So we're going through the homeowner looks like they made kind of a makeshift. It's very crafty and clever, this RV dump. Looks like they probably utilized where the old clean out used to be. So anyway, we're just getting access to that Y connection there. It's a little bit of ABS pipe, really we're dropping into cast iron. 4-inch diameter. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water is running. Off we go. And I zeroed out there at the base of the clean out. Or I guess in this case it's the vent stack. So I think right out of the gate there we head straight outside. Looks like we just on the right side of the home. That's as you face the house from the street. Although maybe not. We're picking up a drain tie-in here, and I do have the kitchen sink, and I've also got the basin sink in the basement running. So that actually may have turned under the floor. We'll find out here at the end when we start doing locates. And then we have what looks like another tie-in right here. If I were to wager a guess, that one there is most likely going to be related to the basin sink connection. And we're getting into some standing water here right now. Alright, so I just let the line drain out here. I just want to be able to get as good a view coming into this thing as possible. And did just notice that we've got a shower down here in the basement. Although it is plugged, it looks like they actually put a small clean out plug into the shower drain. It's just a little bit suspect as to why you'd have that in there. I don't know if the drain is shot and that was just to help prevent people from using it or what have you. But okay, so what you've got here is the pipe is bellied, but what I'm hitting right here as I come out of this is an important thing here. So it's not just simply a belly. If you look at the flow line there, it's troughing. My camera is running into a hard edge. What that tells us is the pipe is either, there's terminology is used, either troughing, channeling. It's where the metal's being eaten away. So the bottom of the pipe there is not in great shape anymore. That section right there, I mean, not only is there a belly, but you've got that thing. I can barely get my camera to pop over that thing. When you get the combination of rough cast iron, a lot of standing water, and you put that trough shape on the flow line, which just creates for kind of a sharp, hard edge, it is a spot where debris can hang up very easily and cause a blockage. So anyway, we're going to fire the water back up here and continue on. Alrighty, fired the water back up here. I'm hoping we can make it much further. What's kind of hindering us on this line is those turns at the start. And we're still hitting more here. Yeah, and then we'll look at, once the line drains out, just kind of the overall condition of the cast iron in general. You know, after 13 years of scoping lines, 25,000 scopes later, a lot of these older lines, in my opinion, especially when they're on the very old end, it starts to make less and less sense to spot repair them at a certain point, and it makes far more sense. Obviously, it is more costly, but it ends up costing more doing it in parts and pieces over time, and you end up with a much better result on the install when you do it at one time. What I'm seeing is you've got some reasonable amount of rust scale in the pipe. Which is the pipe material itself turning to rust. And that's not not necessarily a detrimental thing for cast iron, but when you get really thick flakes of it, it's just an indicator. You couple that with the fact that you've got pipe that's channeling. It tells us the pipe is nearing the end of its lifespan. And if you notice at the top of the pipe too, you've got some snarly stuff hanging down from the top of the pipe there. What that junk generally comes from is the pipe blocking and the line filling up. And then causes debris deposits on the top of the sewer line. Alright, not so much expect to see that. We just swapped over to ABS plastic. That joint right there, we'll come back and take a look at that, but you've got either a bad joint or there's a crack in the sidewall. That's what that's looking like at first glance. Looks like dirt is migrating through that pipe joint there. And this spot right here is probably what's gonna do us in. That's a really hard turn for how far out we are. All right, I'm gonna go see where we're located at. We're hitting a point here. I'm having to wail on the camera to get it to move, and it's just reaching the point where we're gonna potentially damage the camera. Alrighty, so where we are currently located, I'll describe this if you're standing out on Quatama Street facing this property. The line's exiting out the left side of the home from that orientation. It then jaunts over through kind of the garden area. You've got the little gravel pathways with a fountain in the middle. We are just beyond that point. I put a little green dot down there just as a reference mark. But we're just at a point here where we're hitting enough turns now that my camera is really having a hard time getting further. But it looks like that's where it's straightening out to turn and head toward Quatama, as far as I can tell. That joint there, when we first came down line, it's a really hard spot to discern, honestly. It's the way that debris is isolated to that pipe joint. It's a very hard one to tell there. It almost has the appearance like dirt is trying to come to the pipe joint there. I'm just not sure how well it's, unless there's like some excess glue or something like that behind that junk that would cause debris to hang up there. It's just the way that that built up is more indicative of how dirt comes into a sewer line than it is how debris will hang up on a turn as it moves through the pipe. But it's a hard one. It'd be an easier thing to discern during a different time of year when you have rainwater saturation in the ground. You might be able to catch water dripping through. Otherwise, there's no settling that's taking place or anything like that. All right, so I just went and did a marking here. This is very near where that fountain is, where it's to the left of the house on the other side of the driveway. You've got kind of a little garden area there with a bunch of gravel pathways. Right in the middle of it is that. And you know, because that is so darn close to the transition joint there, if you were to do repairs on this thing, I would just take it that it's only a few feet beyond that point. And strangely enough, I'm sitting here trying to figure this out. This basement's shallower than I think it is. I'm only getting the line there at 3 foot 9 inches deep. Usually when you're 110 feet out, you're like 8-9 feet deep at that point. So relatively simple to get to. And the plus side here, not there isn't some garden and foliage to deal with. Almost the whole line is just under dirt and grass, gravel, stuff like that, other than the driveway area. So we still have a little bit of water trickling into the line here. I did a toilet flush there a moment ago. But that spot there at 112 feet, I've seen dirt come through joints enough times in my career. That's how that's looking. Like stuff is being pushed into the line. It's different when debris gets hung up on a turn. It usually smears up against the sidewall. It doesn't jut out from it like that is. But it's a hard one to tell. For behind that, you could have a little bit of excess pipe glue or something that's caused debris to hang up in that fashion. I'm going kind of a little bit slow here because we still have some water draining through. I just want to make sure we're not missing any standing water areas. But what's entirely possible too, what I was going to mention is that, you know, some of that debris at the top of the pipe could be related to what used to be going on in this sewer line. You know, there's debris at the top of the pipe, which tells me that at some point a blockage did occur. What caused it is what's hard to tell. I know that this thing has been disconnected from a septic. And my guess is the septic tank used to be right out there, right about where that line transitions to plastic. And we've got a large enough belly behind us that when I move the camera around, it's going to slosh a little bit of the water loose from that belly. That toilet flush I did was, 5, 6, 7 minutes ago at least now. So some of this may be the remnants of that. But what I can tell you is the line looks like it's running somewhat flat. Like this right here, there's standing water there. That's not flowing water. So in a plastic sewer line, that's not as big of a deal. In cast iron, you can see how rough that texture is. It's not my favorite combo of things. Even having a little, you know, by all accounts, you know, a quarter or 1/16 of an inch of standing water is not a ton of standing water on its own. But when it's stretched out over 100 feet and coupled with rougher cast iron, it is stuff that can lead to blockages occurring, especially if you're not being careful. All right, currently we're about 10 feet or so to the left of the driveway. Still about 4 feet deep there. You can see we do have some wipes caught up in the line there. You know, if you're not updating anytime soon, just be very mindful of improper stuff like that. Cast iron's not terribly forgiving to improper items. But being that you have the kind of belly you've gotten here at the start of the line, my 2 cents on this, if you're going to go to the effort of updating that, it makes sense to just update it at once, especially with shallow depths like that. And right here we are just about on the other side of the driveway, still underneath it, but just a couple feet from the edge. Still get about 4 foot 3 inches or so. It's very similar depth across the entire line. And this is where we start getting into the, this is the bellied area where the pipe is channeled. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull back here. There's so much foliage on that side of the house. It's very, I won't be able to put any markings down that are even hardly readable or legible, I should say. So I'm going to try and get back close to the house where the belly begins at. If you go for repairs, this is one where you'd want to have a repair company out doing locates on it. All right, about the same depth here, about 4 foot 6 inches. We are just outside the house there where that belly starts at. Right now the camera is upside down. Then what I don't know too, the amount of standing water that was there originally, the line was almost completely submerged. I had a little more than basically 1 sink's volume worth of water. These weren't running full blast. So what that can indicate is that in that area there was very likely debris buildup that my camera probably babied along through it. You still got about 1 inch of standing water in that location there. So, as the line sits, it's a functioning sewer line, but it's on the older end, and it's condition-wise is getting near the end of its lifespan. So, right now under the floor here, you've got some standing water. Not much buildup and not hardly any scale buildup back in here. You can see the difference in condition. Right now I'm a little more concerned about the exterior part of the sewer line. And we can't see the remainder of it out to beyond 116 feet. My guess is, and you can pull up records From that point where we swap over to ABS, on out to the main lateral, very likely is updated. You have to pull some records to verify that. Right now, just because of the condition, the bellied area of the exterior line, what I would recommend right now is an update from the foundation wall out to that turn in the ABS where we potentially have dirt coming through, which again is only about a couple feet beyond the cast iron transition. Recommend rescoping afterward to check the work. Beyond that, the pipe under the floor is still in reasonable condition, has adequate flow, and is free of any major buildup.